This is Lone Star Politics from NBC5 and the Dallas Morning News.
A big vote on a $960 million public safety bond is on the table in Dallas this week. Good Sunday morning. I'm Phil Prazen from NBC5.
And I'm Gromer Jeffers, political writer with the Dallas Morning News. Just 2 years after Dallas voters approved a $1.25 billion bond package, Dallas City Council will consider going back to the well. Dallas City Council will vote on Wednesday whether to send a $960 million bond proposal to voters this November 3rd. The bond is currently split into three separate proposals, including $500 million for the Dallas Police and Fire pension system, while another bond proposal covers $443 million, including $82 million needed to fully fund a law enforcement training center. This will all have to be paid for by taking out more debt or, Gromer, by raising property taxes. And this is the latest episode in a long quest to upgrade police facilities after years of decay. I spoke with Dallas Police Chief Daniel Como about why he thinks these are needed upgrades. Let's talk about first the training center, because like every type of bond question in front of voters is, do you want this or do you need this? What do you think?
Well, I think the voters of Dallas have spoken many a times. They've been saying that the Dallas Police Department needs a new academy, and we still don't have a new academy. When I was doing research about coming to the Dallas Police Department, I noticed back in 1987, in May of 1987, it was in the paper about the Dallas Police Department getting a new academy. That's when I graduated high school, actually, and we still don't have a new academy.
What happens at an academy that you aren't doing now, or that you will be doing better at a new academy?
Well, part of it is you want to have the very best officers attending an academy. Like, we're doing really good in recruiting right now, but at some point we're going to hit a wall. When people see the facilities, it's kind of a downer. And then you also have 3,500 officers that are constantly getting retrained. You want to have your officers in a facility where they're getting top-notch training and they understand what they're supposed to do to take care of the community.
In 2024, this is the facility at UNT. Voters approved a $50 million bond. Why is more money needed?
Well, it's hard to build something in 2026 at $50 million. That's going to be state of the art. And when you build it, you want it to stand the test of times and you want it to be there for the future. $50 million is just not enough to build a new academy right now. Somebody may see this and say, money towards buildings doesn't go to more people on the street. Yeah, so look at it some way. You want to go and work at a place that's nice. You want to, if you have the ability to go, let's say to Houston, who's right down the street, they have a top-notch facility. It is one of the best facilities in the United States. And here we are just 3 hours north of them. And in my opinion, we have a better police department than them. But our facilities, man, I could not believe how bad the facilities were when I got hired.
So what's so bad about the one right now?
Well, look, I'll give you an example. When I went to the firing range, I could not believe we were at the firing range. The building's falling down. And this is where an elite police department is training right now. I was shocked that Dallas had facilities that bad.
What about the others? The public safety training complex, the emergency operations center, are those needed?
Yeah, so the emergency operating center, that's a bad facility. It's in the basement right now. It's bad. You go down there, you actually have rodents that's running through the office while 911 operators are working. There's water leaks down there. And I think the new plan is we can put them closer to headquarters. We can have us close together in case there's a disaster. Various things that would just make us more efficient as a city and a department.
And the training center, would be the $149 million, maybe at the Dallas Executive Airport. I see that there's an outdoor component to it, probably for, to train, vehicle maneuvers and stuff like that. Is that necessary?
Yes, we need everything. Dallas is so far behind when it comes to the equipment. I should say more the facilities. We're so far behind when it comes to the facilities. We're not even in the top 100 when it comes to what our academy, our EVOC, and our gun range looks like. Matter of fact, top 100 would be generous.
How does better, nice facilities impact public safety in the neighborhoods?
Well, first of all, some of the new technology. There's technology out there that can make you sharper, understand what you're shooting at, targets moving, facing. All of those things comes with new facilities. And right now, ours, you should come out and see it. You come out and see it for yourself with me,
okay.
and you will understand.
There's also the $500 million pension option. What's important about that?
Look, think about how many officers has given their career to the city of Dallas and the Dallas Police Department in protecting and serving everyone that lives in Dallas. Those men and women have not had a COLA raise in years. Mm-hmm. And the cost of living is going up every single day, but their pension's not going up every single day. We have to make sure that we have a competitive pension to continue to get the best of the best officers here.
What would happen if the voters say, we can't afford it?
I tell you what, I'd be extremely disappointed, especially when it comes to the police department, for the facilities. I mean, this is something that's needed. And when the voters speak and they vote, we need to build.
So, Gromer, I got the impression that the chief's top priority would be that academy. They've been trying to do that for years. City Council, though, may approve all of these. They may approve none of those. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation because of the overall budget problems that the city is facing. So how will they prioritize the police situation? Public safety, improving public safety is a goal of the mayor. He stated that ever since his first inaugural address. So will they do all of them, one of them? But I got to tell you, they're going to have to convince voters that, hey, we've been hearing about this for a long time. When is enough? When are you going to actually get it done, especially with the academy?
All right, up next, it could be a bumpy election for Republicans, and much of it hinges on the economy. We speak with Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne about what can impact your wallet. Plus, the race for the U.S. Senate rolls through North Texas. Both candidates laying out their affordability plans, Gromer.
I was there.
Still ahead on Lone Star Politics. This morning, thousands of North Texans may have a new job after a bipartisan job fair at Globe Life Field in Arlington earlier this week. The annual event was launched in 2021 as a way to get employees back to work following COVID shutdowns. It has since evolved into a major regional event. This year, with a record 670 businesses, those were on hand. North Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne is one of the main organizers. She was the first woman mayor of Irving before heading to D.C. to serve in the 24th Congressional District, stretching across Dallas and Tarrant counties. I spoke to her about what many call the affordability crisis, tariffs, the war with Iran, and the economy. Your job fair was on Thursday.
Yep.
Grade what you're seeing on the ground in the economy right now when it comes to North Texas jobs.
Yeah. Well, this is the biggest job fair that we have ever had. We keep breaking records, largest in the country. More than 670 businesses were there. Hiring people on the spot, gathering resumes, doing interviews. I think what it shows is how much our economy is growing in Texas. We call it the Texas miracle, whether or not it's semiconductor manufacturing in general, the energy dominance that we've got in energy production. Our competition on the financial markets. We've got Y'all Street that's competing with Wall Street. More financial employees here than in New York in many cases. And I think that just shows that people want to be here, that policies matter.
There are some very positive signs in the economy when it comes to the stock market is doing very well. Yep. 4.2% unemployment rate, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is pretty good. But I have heard and seen some articles and some studies about this idea of a K-shaped economy, where top 10, 20% thriving. But are those successes trickling down and getting to the other 80%?
So what we're looking at when we're looking at wages, when we look at manufacturing, for example, is up over 4%. We're seeing wages that are outpacing inflation. And so those are in markets that aren't, the upper 2%. When we look at the amount of money now that people who are making on tips, right, and the fact that now they are able to bring home, $3,000 to $10,000 more than they were making just last year, because now they're not paying taxes on their tips. When we look at people who are working overtime and not having to pay, as much taxes on overtime, all of those things are helping exactly the sector that you're talking about. So is it trickling down? No, it's actually being made in specifically in those sectors.
When it comes to inflation, 3.5% this month, 4.2% last month. The Fed's target rate is 2%. I've seen also some studies about if we didn't have the Trump administration tariffs and the war in Iran, we would be at that 2% inflation rate. Do you think we should be staying the course on those tariffs and the Iran war?
So also, if we did not have the Trump administration, you didn't have a Republican-led Congress, you would have seen as a $4 trillion tax increase. Because if we didn't pass that one big beautiful bill, you would have seen the largest tax increase on the American population than we've ever had in our American history. So I think that's one thing to take notice of. Tariffs is really an opportunity to correct a wrong that happened when we basically pushed all of our manufacturing over to China several years ago. The idea was that if China was doing well financially, it would all of a sudden become much more of a democratic state. That did not happen. But what did happen was we punished our American producers, and we found it, with an exclamation point attached to it during COVID, when we needed things over here in our country during a time of a pandemic, and we weren't producing them here. So I think what we're trying to do with these tax cuts, what we're trying to do with our tariff policy, is really right that wrong, make American businesses much more competitive globally, allow American workers to be able to be here, and make sure that we're producing, whether or not it's pharmaceuticals, whether or not it's manufacturing that we use, whether or not it's even within our defense industry complex, that we're making those things, producing them here, semiconductors here within the U.S.
So I'm hearing stay the course on the tariffs.
Yes, absolutely.
And what about on the Iran war?
I think what you're saying, though, the course is to provide as many finalized plans as possible. So you're seeing during the Biden administration, for example, their trade policy was basically they didn't have one.
The war with Iran.
Yeah.
Keep going with the course. What do you see? What do you think?
I would love to see that war end sooner rather than later. I think that's what the plan was. But if you look at where our nation was 5 months ago, you had a superpower that was being threatened by an Islamic radical regime who had 47 years ago basically declared war on the U.S. who has for over 47 years now has terrorized, has funded terrorist activities that has resulted directly in deaths, maiming, injury of American civilians and American soldiers, American military. We were facing a definite threat that this power would have nuclear capability. We already knew it had ballistics that could range to London.
I heard you correctly that it's time to make a deal and end this thing.
We want to end it, but at the same token, you want to make sure that you do not have an enemy of the United States, the enemy of the West, have the capabilities of having nukes that it will use. And I think they have been very clear that that's where they were going. They were trying to hide it. Every other president from the time, last 47 years, has wanted to prevent this. They've always threatened it. They've just never done it.
People talk about an affordability crisis. A lot of that has to do with inflation, but I think a lot of it also has to do with the cost of health care, child care, housing, the things that aren't just jobs and wages, but how much the things cost once you have the jobs and the wages. What does the Republican leadership and you all in Congress need to do to address that?
Well, I think what we're trying to do with that, with the One Big Beautiful Bill. I mean, that we absolutely looked at people having to pay more because during the Biden administration, trillions of dollars were spent on keeping production from happening, on keeping manufacturing jobs, on the regulatory burdens that they had added to our small businesses, crushing them. And so we tried to relieve some of that. We were looking at providing people more dollars in their pockets so that when you earn money, you get to keep it and you're not sending it off to the government to be able to spend as they wish, bringing jobs back, growing the economy. All of those things have benefited.
Gromer, Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne has an opponent in November. I reached out to Kevin Burge. But in that district, Northern Tarrant County, Northern Dallas County, I mean, that's right in the center of the Metroplex, and the economy has to be the #1 issue.
Without a doubt. And, I must say she's been with this job fair for many years. She stuck with it. It's really grown, so kudos to her for that. The questions, though, about the economy were really interesting because Republicans have to defend some of Trump's policies amid the affordability issue, and sometimes that's hard to do. And you see now many Republicans, including Ken Paxton, are trying to address the issue in advance of the November elections. Because if they go the way Democrats did in 2024 and not address the economic issues, then you can have a wave. And if you have a big blue wave, Beth Van Duyne, who is in a normally safe district, you never know what could happen. So that's why they got to speak to it.
And it was interesting when she said, you know, they should probably try and end this war as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the Republican base have been against so-called forever wars or conflicts in the Middle East. They want to retreat from that. Trump promised to do that, and so the longer they are in this conflict, the longer that people are going to be reminded that, hey, this is not what you promised. So it's another issue that they're going to have to deal with.
And coming up, the top of the ticket in the fall comes through North Texas. We discussed the latest in the race for U.S. Senate. Gromer, it's like a neck-and-neck race.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And this morning, we want to honor former U.S. Congresswoman Kay Granger, who passed away 1 week ago at the age of 83. Her political career included many firsts, including becoming the first female mayor of Fort Worth, and she became the first Republican woman to chair the powerful House Appropriations Committee. During her nearly 3 decades in Congress, Kay Granger will be remembered for the barriers she broke. We'll be right back with more Lone Star Politics. Following a tense Tarrant County Commissioners Court meeting Tuesday, a controversial plan to drastically cut the number of polling locations ahead of the midterm November elections is on hold, Gromer. The proposal would have cut Election Day polling locations from 316 sites to 176, and the number of early voting sites from 50 to 42. Commissioners voted to table the discussion until their September 1st meeting. And another headline we're watching, the Texas Senate race. Both candidates, Democratic candidate James Tallarico and Republican Ken Paxton, bringing their campaigns to North Texas this week. The race getting national attention as Democrats try to flip Senate control, and I've counted 4 recent polls, Gromer, with Tallarico ahead in some way.
The entire country depends on how this election turns out, whether we keep the Senate, and whether we're going to tell the rest of the world that we've elected a liberal socialist Democrat.
On Tuesday, Paxton spoke to hundreds in Allen. He laid out his Protecting the Texas Promise plan, which includes tax deductions for medical expenses, healthy living plans, first-time home owners, and expanding the child tax credit. Of note, he was introduced by one of the people who tried to impeach him, Plano's Jeff Leach. Show of unity there. And then the next day, an estimated 1,300 people showed up in Arlington to hear Democratic candidate and state representative James Tallarico launch his new American Dream Tour. He called for a minimum wage hike, expanding overtime pay, a repeal of tax breaks for the top 1%, and also an expanded child tax credit like Paxton. He also wants to cap credit card interest rates and cut taxes on the middle class.
It's time for us to come together across these manufactured divisions to take on the people at the top who have been screwing us over for far too long. Because the real fight in this country is not left versus right. It's top versus bottom.
Tallarico paired the policy rollout with endorsements from 2 prominent Tarrant County leaders, former County Judge Glenn Whitley, and a Republican, and Arlington Mayor Jim Ross, who described himself as an independent. Gromer, both these candidates have their affordability plan. Let's talk about Paxton's first. Tax deductions, including stuff like if you want to get a gym membership, GLP-1s, to live a healthier life. What stands out to you there?
Yeah, one, that he's addressing it. It shows you that he's attuned that, hey, we need to address the affordability issue, even as President Trump describes it as a Democratic hoax, you know, a made-up issue. So he's
on the ground, it's very real.
It's very real, so he's addressing that. And also, what stands out is some of the similarities with what Democrats are pushing, child tax credits, things like that. And so there seems to be common ground, Phil, that affordability is a problem, and both parties are moving to address it.
I listened to Tallarico's speech. It's a class battle. I mean, it is. He's saying it's not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. It's hard to get more class-oriented than that.
Exactly. And He's trying to strike a nonpartisan chord. He was in Arlington, which Tarrant County, one of the last battlegrounds in Texas, but also trying to appeal to soft Republicans and independents. You mentioned the endorsements. And Paxton was in Allen, deeply Republican, trying to fire up today's bill.
That's all the time we have. Stay tuned for Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next Sunday for more Lone Star Politics.